Hello and welcome to the San Diego Unified Office Skills Training video series, Tips and Tricks. In today's video, we're going to be learning how to use conditional formatting in Excel. So let's take a look at our Excel spreadsheet, our pretend school that we have open here. And conditional formatting is something that we find right here in the Styles group on the Home tab ribbon. And it works for some things and some things it won't work for. It's like many of the features in Excel. We just have to find a way to put it to use. So let's take a look at it. So the first thing I'm going to do as we get into the conditional formatting is I want to find something that I want to format conditionally. And I'm going to go ahead and select column F, grade level. And so we have grades kindergarten represented by a 0 all the way through 5th grade. So we have a total of 6 different grades, which is important because we go up here to conditional formatting and we see we have all kinds of different options available to us. So we'll take a look at this first one here. It says highlight cell rules. And when we hover over it, we get this little extra menu that pops out. And so we can select some different choices here, greater than, less than, between. Since we're dealing with numbers, if we want to, we could say, show me all the classes or all the grade levels greater than 3rd or number 3, and then we'd only see 4th and 5th graders. These don't make much sense to me dealing with classes. It would just be easier to do a custom filter where you would just be able to filter out which grade levels you're interested in. But there are some that could be helpful, like right down here, duplicate values. If we're trying to find something that's a duplicate, we'll be using that in column A, student ID numbers, at the end of this video. So none of these really make much sense for this particular column we have here. But let's take a look at the next one. So the top 10 items, 10%, bottom 10%, so on and so forth. Again, this is dealing with numbers. And because we're dealing with students, in this case, grade levels with 6 different numbers, that doesn't make sense either. But if we go down a little bit further, we do have some things that could be helpful if this is something you're interested in. So this first section here is called gradient fill, and we see some different colors. And what's wonderful about Microsoft Excel being such a powerful program is it allows us to preview what things would look like by simply just hovering over it. So here I'm just hovering over the blue data bar. And in the gradient fill, we see that over on the left in column F, that the 5 goes all the way across. You go down a couple rows, we see the 4 has 1 chunk less. And if we look down a ways, we'd find a 3 with 1 chunk less, and then a 2, another chunk less. The 1 we can see in row 2 there just has a single chunk. And then down on the 7th row, we see 0 or a kindergartner. There's nothing there. So is that helpful? Perhaps. Maybe that's the way you want to see your data. So we could go ahead and select that. But before we do, we can see that it comes in a number of different colors, and maybe one of these other colors makes more sense to us. So we could just try them out by hovering over them. I kind of like the looks of that one. So I'm going to go ahead and just select that one at this point. And so now we see that all of the 5th graders are all the way across, 4th graders 1 chunk less, 2nd or 3rd graders down here 1 chunk less than that, 2 another chunk less, 1 is just a single section, and of course kindergartners are nothing or have no bars across there at all. So again, is this something you would want to use? It's a matter of personal preference. Maybe having the numbers graphically displayed in this way with a color band going across could be helpful to you. That's just simply an option. Let's go ahead and select column F again and go back up to conditional formatting. And this time we see under data bars, we have solid fill. So it's kind of the same idea, just without the gradient. So it's just a solid color all the way across. I kind of like the one that we have already. That's a gradient, looks all right to me. So we go down to the next one, color scales. Well, this is interesting all by itself. All these different colors. So all of the different grades are represented in different colors, except that it's not. It only has 5 different colors in there. And so some of the ones are going to have the same color in there, like grade 2 and 3 looks like they're the same. They could be a little bit off, but that's hard to tell what the difference is. So this doesn't really make sense either. We go down to the next one and we have icon sets. And so what's interesting about this is, like this first choice here, we only have 3 different colored arrows. And since we have 6 grades, we're most definitely going to have things overlapping. So you can see in row 1 in column F, 5th graders, and then down in row 4 where it has the 4th graders, you can see that they're both arrows green pointing up. That doesn't make much sense. So if we went down to this one that has 5, that's a little bit better. But since we have 6 different grades represented, those arrows are going to be, at least one of them is going to be the same for a couple of different grades. And you'll have to take some time to look at that to see which one it is. But if we look down here, we can see that we've got different sets and they come in different numbers of things. And so one that I find that's a little bit interesting is this one. It has 5 different choices. And again, somewhere they're going to be duplicated. It looks like the 5th and 4th graders have the solid one. We're going to go ahead and just select that for now, because what we see here, if I click away from it, is that we have now done both the conditional formatting of data bars for this one right here, the blue, as well as the icon set. We did this particular little pie section thing that you see there. And so now we have the different conditional formattings on top of each other. Does any of that make sense? It's personal preference. For me, I wouldn't want to use it for any of those reasons right there, but conditional formatting can come in helpful depending on what it is you're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and just undo those because I'm not really interested in keeping that. And so this is a real world example that I'm going to use conditional formatting here in just a moment. Someone came to us once and said that we have multiple people that work in the front office at our school. And on one day, someone came in and they signed up a new student and gave them a student number or whatever. And then the next day, someone else was there working at the front desk. And that same student came in and that person started entering data again, but did it just a little bit differently. And so what they were trying to find was where in their student ID numbers they had duplicate numbers. And so there's a couple of different ways you could do that, but I'm going to use conditional formatting just to show that it could be used in that way. And so I'm going to go ahead and select column A, the student numbers. Then I'm also going to use custom sorting. So this is an example of custom sorting as well. And so I'm going to go over here to conditional formatting. And if you remember the in the highlight cell rules in the drop-down menu that showed up on the side, the submenu, we saw duplicate values. And so the duplicate values dialog box shows up and it says, okay, so with duplicates, what do you want to make them look like so they stand out? And so the first choice is light red fill with dark red text. That would look interesting. But we have a number of different choices that are here. And by the way, before we choose one of these other choices here, just know that maybe we're not looking for duplicates, we're looking for the unique one. Maybe everything's the same and we're trying to find the one that's standing out. So we do have that choice. But in the duplicates, we're going to skip all of these options like green fill with dark green text and all of that. And we're going to go down to custom format just to show you have some control over this. And we're actually going to go to, and as far as formatting cells, we're going to go to the fill tab. And we want the duplicate values, in this case, the duplicate ID numbers, to actually be filled in yellow so that they stand out and they're very bright. And so that's what we want to do. Set it to bright yellow, like a highlighter pen. And so again, all duplicate values are going to be this custom format, which happens to be yellow. And so I'm going to say, okay. So now somewhere in this long list is duplicate numbers and they're yellow. Now, if I have a school of just a couple hundred people, I can scroll pretty quickly. But if I'm at a school site that has a couple thousand students, or if I'm somehow trying to identify duplicate staff names or something in a certain department, and I've got 15,000, there's got to be a better way to find those duplicate numbers down there. And so we can actually do a custom sort. And so to do that, we go over here in the Home tab ribbon on the editing group, and we go to the sort and filter drop-down menu, and we select custom sort. And so here is our sort dialog box. And so first it's going to ask us which column we're going to sort by. Well, there's a list of all of our columns. We actually want the very first one, student ID number for this example. And so it says, how are you going to sort it? On cell values? Well, that's talking about the numbers that are there. That's actually what we don't want to sort it by. We actually want to sort it by cell color, since we highlighted the cells in that bright yellow. So we're going to sort it by cell color. And then it's saying, okay, well, what's the order? You want no cell color on the top? Well, that's kind of how we have it already. Actually, let's make all of the cells that are bright yellow, and we're going to custom sort them to the top, just like that. And then say, okay. And there we go. And so again, this was a real world example where someone at a school site had entered the data on one particular day one way, spelling the names a little bit differently than the next day. And so they had that number in there twice, and the spelling was just different. So they wanted to figure out which one it was. So in this case, if the correct spelling was actually right here with the PHAN, then we could simply come here to row 2 and then just delete that row and make that go away. And now we have just the data that we need. So there's an example of how you can use conditional formatting, at least some of the options that are there, in this case, duplicate values. And then once you've done that and made the duplicate values fill in with the cell color yellow like that, then you go to sort and filter and go to custom sort, and then simply sort the yellow color to the top. So hopefully that's helpful to you to give you a little bit better understanding of conditional formatting and a real world example combined with the custom sorting that you can do. So thank you so much for coming to learn with us today at the Office Skills Training video, tips and tricks. And we're hopeful that you will tell your colleagues, your coworkers about these trainings. And remember also in the IT department on the staff portal, you can also access training classes from PeopleSoft, PowerSchool, and the Office Skills training here that I do that are both the Microsoft Office apps that we do, Excel and Word at this point, as well as the Google Office apps. And we do forms, sheets, docs, slides, and also we teach about how to use Google Drive. So thank you so much for coming to learn with us today, and we hope you all have a great day. Thank you.